you could play for one NFL team, what would it be?
New Orleans Saints. Easy.
Really?
That's my team.
I didn't know that. I just assumed you were a Cowboys fan.
Gosh, no, I'm not corrupt. But I think at the same time, little kids watch Mahomes and think that they can do the stuff he can do and don't realize that he's the only person who can do what he does.
Did you think ever about looking into being a college baseball player, or was it always football? When did you know this is my sport?
So ironically, if you were to ask anyone in my family, I was better at baseball than I was at football. Well, and Texas, they're not going to ever stop playing football. They don't.
Right, that's true.
It could be nuclear war and football season would still happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Next Gen podcast. Today we have a little bit of a different setup. We have Easton in the background this time. It's also been a couple weeks since we've seen you. We've had a lot going on. Unfortunately, that just meant no podcast, but that did mean a busy work-life balance for me and Easton. We had our big American Royal event. We've had a bunch of games that both of us have gotten the opportunity to cover. And today we are bringing in a guest I've been excited for a while. I feel like I say that every time, but this one's an interesting story. So everyone meet Jack Jackson, one of my good college buddies and a former KU football player. Although you might have not seen him on the field, his presence was definitely one that I'm sure is missed. So Jack, how are you doing today? Thanks for waiting through those technical difficulties with us.
No, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I've been excited to hop on here for a couple weeks now.
Well, we like to start off with a couple of just quick questions just to kind of like loosen you up a little bit. And even though we have been talking actually to talk football and to get into it. So just give me your gut reaction. No answer is the wrong answer. I might judge you a little bit, but that's okay. What is your favorite Jayhawk logo?
Ooh, this one.
Okay. For those who can't see you right now.
It's the Warhawk. The Warhawk logo. The one that we wear in our blackout uniforms and the one we wear on our helmet whenever we upset Texas 2 years ago.
Right. That was such a fun game. What was your sideline view from that game? Did you get to be on the sideline for that game?
No, I didn't because I didn't travel away games, but was in the Texas student section because I am from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wearing my Puka Williams jersey going absolutely nuts.
I love that. I want to get into that a little bit later in just the high school football Texas scene because that is something I do not know. Yeah. But we'll get to that in a while. If you could go head to head with any player, past or present, who would it be and why?
Ooh. What do you mean by head to head? Like one-on-one Oklahoma drill or like?
I guess with football it's a little bit harder to do that.
Especially as a quarterback, I'm
compared your stats to someone else.
If there was a Kansas Jayhawk quarterback I would want to be, it would be Todd Reesing.
Interesting.
He's from Texas as well. He's Texas kid, went to Kansas. Legend, took him to the Orange Bowl.
Exactly.
Probably one of the quarterbacks we've had. So yeah, probably him.
All right. How do you think you compare?
Similar style game, but obviously he's a legend, so I think he has a little bit of an edge on me.
And what would that game style be that you think before you medically retired? What was your style of gameplay like?
Definitely dual threat. Definitely did not want to stay in the pocket. Wanted to move around as much as possible. Run it. Look at one guy. Look at the second guy. If neither one of them are open, I'm looking to run.
I like it. If you could play for one NFL team, what would it be?
New Orleans Saints. Easy.
That's really?
It's my team.
I didn't know that. I just assumed you were a Cowboys fan.
Gosh, no, I'm not corrupt.
Okay. I just actually read a really good audiobook. It was called Boys Will Be Boys. It's about the all the White House and all the things that the Cowboys did wrong in the 90s pretty much. And it was shocking. Some things that I was like, oh, I did not understand that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one, just your top 3 NFL players that you would look up to. If you were still playing, you would use their gameplay as an example.
Number 1, Drew Brees. That's just who I grew up watching. He's the reason I Played quarterback, played football. I was number 9 for most of my career until college. He's definitely number 1. Number 2, I would say Burrow. Just love Joe Burrow. Grew up an LSU fan, so
Okay.
can't complain with that one. And then 3, I'm trying to think dual threat guys, but I mean, at the end of the day, everyone nowadays wants to be Mahomes. Everyone wants to be Mahomes.
I mean, he's not a bad example to follow.
No. But I think at the same time, little kids watch Mahomes and think that they can do the stuff he can do and don't realize that he's the only person who can do what he does.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think he has that ability to just be like the MVP?
I mean, he's just – you see all these crazy throws he does, off-platform throws. And for people who don't know, off-platform is when you're not standing still in the pocket. You're moving as you're throwing. And he's admitted it multiple times. I think playing multiple sports helped a lot for him. He was a baseball player. He was an infielder. He was a pitcher. So he's used to all those different arm slots. And just not many people nowadays, I feel like, are sticking to one sport more than in the past.
Did you, growing up, play any other sports that you think could have helped your football career? I mean, I know we played some intramural basketball and volleyball, but did you grow up doing anything else to help your football career off the field?
Yeah, I grew up playing basketball and baseball. Basketball probably was a little short-lived, ended that one pretty quickly. Chose baseball, football, and I was playing third base, pitching, outfield, just anything. And kind of like I said, you're constantly throwing a ball, so your arm's feeling loose all the time. You're using different slots and motions. So yeah, they definitely correlate, and football helps baseball just like baseball helps football.
Fair enough. Did you think ever about looking into being a college baseball player, or was it always football? When did you know this is my sport?
So ironically, if you were to ask anyone in my family, I was better at baseball than I was at football. It was just baseball's different. The whole recruiting process is different. They really don't have many scholarships. I think it's 6 full scholarships they give out. Mm-hmm. And our senior year was COVID. So it was
right.
I had a whole season my junior year get wiped out. So it was just a lot harder.
Football's in the fall and
Texas, they're not going to ever stop playing football. They know.
Right, that's true.
Nuclear war and football season will still happen.
I hope to see that. Actually, I don't, but imagine you're right. Okay. Speaking of Texas, growing up in Highland Park, what does that look like? I've been there once or twice around Highland Park to visit friends, and the football stadiums for high schools look like they're for colleges.
Yeah.
What was that? What? Obviously, you don't have anything to compare it to, but what do you think was some specific to Texas things that high school football did? Besides for just obviously the size of the stadium and
to start, we had a whole TV show about Texas high school football, Friday Night Lights. And it is to a T, that's how Fridays were. Every shop, restaurant was closed on Friday nights in Highland Park for the football game if there was a home game. Also, I think did you guys do pep rallies? Was that a thing?
Every now and then. We wouldn't do it for every single game.
See, we had one every single week.
Okay, so what did that look like?
It would look like the band starts playing, whole football team runs out, and we're all wearing matching white button downs and jeans and boots, and we're running out. Cheerleaders run us out in the gym, do a little breakdown, then we all sit down, and then they do players of the week, captain speeches, head coach talks. They
the whole school sits down and listens to this.
Whole school, the cheerleaders, player of the week, they'll come up and they'll pin you in front of everyone. Cheerleaders are wearing football jerseys. They do a routine. Our whole dance pom group comes up and does a routine. We have a Scotsman, which are 4 of the funniest kids who are seniors, do a skit every week. And it's crazy.
Why do you think Texas just took football and ran with it? Because Kansas, we'll do those kind of pep rallies, but it's always for homecoming week, which homecoming in Texas is a whole other thing. Those big flower things the girls wear.
Yeah.
It's not something I've ever seen. But why do you think that was just Texas's thing is we're going to love football?
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that the school I'm from, Highland Park, has just always been that way. And I couldn't say why, but it's been that way from the jump and it hasn't stopped.
So when you were obviously it was around COVID, but when you were looking at next steps of football, how did you end up at KU? I know you were a walk-on. What happened?
So it was, I mean, a lot of younger years was just going to camps and stuff. And I went to, I think it was my sophomore year, I started going to a bunch of camps. I went to North Carolina camp when they had a Fedora, I think. I went to Baylor's camp. I went to Tech when not Kiffin, what's his name? He was the old quarterback.
I am not the right person to ask for
I
stats.
know he's the offensive coordinator for the Commanders right now, and I'm blanking on his name.
Easton, offensive coordinator for the who'd you say?
Washington Commanders.
Commanders.
He was the coordinator at A&M with Johnny Manziel too.
Eric Bieniemy?
No, not Bieniemy.
B.
His last name starts with a K.
How can none of us figure this out? It's kind of embarrassing.
OC at
Cliff Kingsbury?
Thank you. Yes. Cliff Kingsbury.
How many sports management majors does it take to figure out one very simple football stat?
I know. Kingsbury and then I went to KU when Coach Beatty was here. Beatty.
Really?
And ironically, like every single camp I went to within 2 months, that coach got fired. So
it was you, basically.
I was like, great. Like I'm making all these connections and they're just going down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my senior year, I was like, if I'm going to play football, it's going to be like William and Mary, like lower level Austin Peay, like one of those schools. And so I was like, you know what, why not like send tape to a couple schools that like I went to camps to a while ago. So it was like Richmond, William and Mary. And I was like, I might as well. Like I had gotten into KU and I was like, whatever. They stink. Like, I wonder if I could play there.
Unfortunately.
Like this is back in high school. I'm talking
right.
in the nickel state, like bad. Less my
yeah, we were not good, like 19, 20, nothing like that.
No.
It was embarrassing.
I sent my huddle and I sent like an email to, at that time, I think Lance had just gotten hired maybe.
I think you're right.
And it was, I get a call. I'm on my way to a baseball playoff game in Marshall, Texas. And I get a phone call again. Phone call a third time, I like answer it. I'm like, hello? Is this Jack Jackson? I'm like, yeah, like who is this? It's like
you're like giving him sass from day one.
Ends up being one of the like recruiting operators for KU football. Next thing I know, a week later, I'm on the phone call with Coach Z. For people who don't know, Coach Zabrowski is the quarterback coach at KU. And I'm on the phone with him and he starts telling me all this stuff. He's like, hey, so we want you to like gray shirt. So you'll sit out this freshman year, be a normal student for this semester. And by the time spring ball comes around, you're on the team. And I was like, okay, sweet. So
wow, like I just made a D1 football team.
What? Yeah, let's do it. And then, I mean, I remember he's like, oh, stay in shape, like keep throwing the ball. And I was like, okay, sure. Like whatever.
Did you?
Of course I was like threw the ball, but it's like I wasn't like working out and stuff. I was like going to the games, having fun, being a college kid for a semester. And I remember
you really did get like the best of both worlds. Right? I don't know how you managed that. Like when I was like writing notes for this, I was like, he managed to do extracurriculars through like the journalism school. He managed to be in a fraternity. He managed to be like a basic college kid and be a D1 athlete. Like that's quite impressive. I couldn't do it.
It was a lot. And I remember just walking in there for the first time and I was $170 and they were like, dude, I thought you said you were going to be working out like over the whole semester. And I was like, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Like, not going to lie.
What did those repercussions look like?
I gained 35 pounds in 2.5 months. They
in shape.
They know how to do it. I mean, they have a whole nutrition staff, a whole weight staff. They know what they're doing over there.
So walk me through that process of what you can, of what was just an average day of workouts and meals and.
Yeah. So yeah, just like wake up usually around 5:30, late by. So any meeting, you're late 5 minutes before. So if a team meeting's at 7 a.m, you have to be butt in seat by 6:55. Anything else, workout, meal, check-in, it's 30 minutes. So if breakfast is at 6:30, you better be in the meal room, already sat down and checked in and weighed in. You have to weigh yourself every single morning.
Wow.
You have to make a weight, and by 6. And so wake up around 5:30, get there by 6, eat a meal, go down, get dressed, walk over to the weight room. Let's say you'll lift before practice, depending on what it is. Sometimes they do field days, which is where you're just kind of doing agility work and stretches and core work and stuff like that. Other days they have actual lifts where you're hang cleaning, power cleaning, benching, or squatting. Squats usually always on Friday. And then after that, you'll then shower, go to a team meeting where Coach Leipold will kind of talk about, hey, this is what we're doing today. This is what the rest of the week looks like. These were players of the week from the last game, or yada, yada, yada. Then you'll go to your individual meetings with your position coach. So me and all the other quarterbacks would go with Coach Z in our room, basically just watch film for an hour and a half. Then, unless you were Jalen Daniels or Jason Bean at the time, all the other guys, quarterbacks 3 through 6, would then go to scout team meetings for another 30 minutes and basically learn all of Texas Tech, let's say, or this week we're playing BYU's plays and have to run them against our starting defense later in the day. So then you would go down, change into your pads, warm up, then go through stretches, then practice starts.
So what's the average time commitment on that? Because I'm like tired just listening to you list it all out.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're waking up at 5:30, you're probably not done with practice until 11:30, and then you have mandatory lunch afterwards unless you have class. So you're probably not leaving the facility till 12:30.
Wow. And that's 5 days a week? That's fun. Hey, you signed up for that.
I know, right? And so like I was definitely loving it. I mean, it's definitely what I wanted to do, so I wasn't complaining or anything.
What was it like being, even as a lower string quarterback? Were you what, 3rd, 4th?
Lower than that, probably 4th, 5th.
Okay. I always think it's funny whenever I like say, "Oh, this is my first back."
Once injuries started happening, like last year, once Jalen got hurt and Jason got hurt, started going up. Maybe a little too close for comfort, but yeah.
So did you want to get on the field, or you were just comfortable being around the field?
No, obviously, like I joke, like me, I always joke about that stuff. But at the end of the day, like would love the opportunity. I mean, everyone would. I mean, would definitely be nervous first play, but after that, it's like, hey, it's like riding a bike. It's like I've done this for 19 years of my life, at this point. So
do you think that like the larger crowd than you're used to would be kind of a nerve-wracking thing, or you'd be like, hey, I'm used to it, I grew up in Texas?
Well, not gonna lie, I remember running out my first game at KU, and it was at home, and I kind of was like looking around, and I was like, and then we had gone 2-10 the year before, right? So it was like,
right,
stands weren't packed the first week against Tennessee Tech, and I remember running out there, and I was like, I've played in bigger stadiums than this.
you were not worried. You were just there
not
for
worried at all. Like there's high school games that I've played in, like where it was at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, where that seats however many it seats, and there was probably
that's wild.
50,000 people at those games, which is more than the booth holds.
Mm-hmm. Was there ever a game that you were sitting on the sidelines like, holy shit, I could go in any second?
The only game I ever thought something could happen was Texas Tech, just because everyone was getting hurt. Jalen went down, Bean got a concussion, Ballard got his helmet knocked off or whatever and came up stumbling, and I was like, oh my gosh, like at this point everyone's going down, like what's gonna happen? Thank gosh I didn't have to, just because I mean, there are times when you look out there and you see those guys and it's just like, that guy is so much bigger than I am. Like, what would happen if I got lit
up? You're trusting your O-lineman.
No, exactly. I'm talking about if I'm running, like if
right.
I'm on the field, and because I think Texas Tech's defensive end that year was like the number 4 pick in the draft.
I don't remember. I told you I'm really bad at that kind of stat. I'm just here for the vibes.
Yeah.
Ask me to list of famous anybody, can't do it.
Yeah.
What was it like working so close to those high level? I mean, Bean was, I think, loved around the country, not just by KU. Like, people were like, holy cow, this is a kid out of Kansas. Or not, you know what I mean? Like, from KU, who is showing that he has potential for greatness. What
Yeah.
was it like working so close with an amazing coach like Coach Leipold and the rest of the KU guys that were showing that they weren't no one, that they had the power and the skill to be a bowl team?
Yeah. One, I mean, Coach Leipold is and will be one of my favorite people on this earth. He's just the nicest guy in the world. He knows also truly how to get the best out of everyone. You could be, the star player on the team. You could be the fifth string punter. He's going to come up to you and talk to you like you're the same person. He truly doesn't pick favorites. And I think that's why people, this team always wants to play for him. And including now I know this isn't the season that people would have hoped for, but a lot in the past, this KU team would have rolled over and died and gotten blown out by Iowa State by 50. And instead, we turned around and spanked them the whole game.
Yeah, that game was awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk football for a minute.
Yeah.
You know the plays, at least some of them. You understand the offense.
Yeah.
Watching our season this year, we're what, 3-6?
Yeah.
What do you think our record should be? What have been the mistakes that KU has made?
Realistically, 8-1. I think the only game
Really?
we truly lost is TCU.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Illinois should have won that one. UNLV should have won that one.
Mhm.
Let's just go down the list. West Virginia, TCU was a real loss.
Mhm.
And then we beat Houston, and then K-State.
K-State.
Freaking won that one too.
I know, we were so close. I really hope ASU beats them this weekend.
It's always something. It's like the last year it was a dropped, punt or interception. This year it was a stepping out of bounds on a kickoff and, drops. And it seems like in that game, it's always they don't make a mistake and we do. It's what it is.
Okay, so why is that? If you were like the offensive coordinator and you were watching these games being like, what are we doing wrong? Do you have an answer?
And I don't think it was anything wrong. I mean, I think originally it was just kind of getting used to a new person calling plays. Not saying it was his fault. It was just, Coach Koldenecki, for those who don't know, is our offensive coordinator last year. He's left. He's now at Penn State, and he's doing a good job over there. I have nothing bad to say about Coach K. I loved Coach K. He was a very nice guy. He's very good at his job. Not saying Grimes isn't. I just think it's a weird transition. It's just like this guy calls it a little bit differently than what we're used to. So we gotta, have that period of trying to like merge and get used to a new person. And I think that took a little bit longer than we would have hoped for. I think we were expecting it to things to click right away after the Wood game, and it didn't. And, kind of stunk for a little bit. But I feel like recently, I mean, if you look at our offense, Jalen's thrown for 1,000 yards in the last 4 games and 12 touchdowns. Devin's doing typical Devin things and just running over everybody. So I think it was just getting used to the changes and having to speed that up. And I think that's what's happened. And also just like some bad breaks, just things that went our way the last 2 years that aren't going on this year. I mean, this team reminds me a lot of one of those Scott Frost Nebraska teams losing every single game by less than a touchdown. So, I mean, that's just the way football is sometimes.
Fair enough. I mean, it's like the Chiefs are getting real good luck right now with a lot of things, like random stuff, like blocked, like goals.
30-yard chip shot. It's like, what the heck?
And it's the luck is going to turn around.
Yeah,
for them and us.
And I hope this is it. I hope we win these next 3 games and go to a bowl game.
What do you think the rest of our season looks like realistically? Because I mean, I know we all want to win these next 3 games and go to a bowl game, but
I think this weekend will tell us truly how these last 3 games are going to go. BYU is a tough team. It's in Provo. It's 9:30 at night. It's 30 degrees. and they're all 25 years old because they all go on missions for 2 to 3 years and come back. I think BYU has looked very sluggish the last couple of weeks. They should have lost last week. They've just had a lot of close games, and I think kind of their luck's going to run out. I could see us beating them, very, very much so, but you just never know. We're going to kill Colorado. We're gonna.
You think so?
Colorado's no. We are going to kill them.
Okay.
I'm not. I know they're 7-2. I've just never been a believer, and I know Travis Hunter is really, really good. Don't get me wrong. Travis Hunter might win the Heisman. He probably would win the Heisman every other year if Ashton Jeanty just wasn't having the season he's having. I'm not a believer in either of the Sanders.
And I like that take.
And then I think we beat Baylor. So I think this BYU game is the only game that we could lose.
So if we go to a bowl game, which one do you think it would be? Like really predict the future here. Because you got to play in the Liberty Bowl. Well, be on the sideline.
I think, yeah, play. Let's not use the word play. That's
you were there. You were in uniform.
I got a ring, right?
You did.
I think if I'm going to look up Big 12 bowl games, I was looking at this the other night. I could see us doing the Liberty Bowl again. I mean, that we were 6-6 when we played in that game, the other year. And then there's one game that's usually played pretty early on, and that's like the Technologies Independence Bowl or something like that, or the Texas Bowl.
Right.
One of those games. I mean, I don't think we'll go to guarantee rate because that's a higher end bowl game. We're not going to go to the Alamo Bowl because that usually goes to like the second best team in the conference. So, I mean, I could see us going to the Liberty Bowl again and playing a team like Memphis or something like that, or a 6-6 Vanderbilt team. I feel like that would be a really
fun game.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a really fun game because it's like these two teams traditionally like stink, and now they're playing each other in a bowl game. Like, who would have saw that coming?
They're proven like their worth and that things can turn around real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it like? I think your Instagram, I was stalking this morning. I had to find like a good headshot. What your Instagram caption from the Liberty Bowl, I believe. Okay.
The one last year. Yeah.
Whichever one is, yeah, you're right. You're right. Where you were like, it's like when you do a group project and still get an A+ when you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Just call yourself out, first of all. And second of all, what was your mindset like of, hey, I was on the team, but playing time wise, I wasn't? Like, how do you keep a positive mindset if I can still help my team even though I'm not on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's like knowing scout team. For people who don't know, scout team is basically the third string, fourth string guys will make kind of a band of misfits on offense and go against the starting defense and try to show them as good of a look as they can. And let's be honest, some of these third string guys would be starters at other Division I places, like Hawaii or San Jose State, like schools like that. So these aren't like your typical, these guys aren't scrubs. Like, yeah, they might not play, but they're still very, very good when it comes to football, and they do give a good look. So that's kind of what I tell people. Like, I know I make jokes, like obviously didn't play on the field, but I do think those type of guys who don't play really do help the team when it comes to practicing hard and giving them good looks, and also just being like easygoing and kind of a stress reliever in the locker room, because you have a lot of guys like that where it's like people are stressed and then they look over at one of their buddies and they're having fun and they're like, oh yeah, it's just a game at the end of the day.
Right. What do you think, before we wrap it up here, what made your decision to medically retire? What happened?
Just back injuries. It was one of those things. It was got hurt, went through rehab, missed the first 2 games of last season, and then kind of was just never the same. I mean, me and my quarterback coach, he knew like I couldn't like put as much into throws as I had wanted to, and lifting, there were certain workouts I wasn't medically able to do anymore. Like I can't squat. I'm not physically allowed to squat or do any type of cleaning or anything. And so it just kind of came to a decision where I'm talking to my coach, and he's like, what do you want to what do you want to do? What are your plans? And we just kind of were talking. It's like, I can't do some of the things I want to do at the best of my abilities, and I'm kind of slowing everything down. And I mean, everything was good. I mean, I had great conversations with all my coaches, with Leipold, with Coach Sleeve, who's our strength and conditioning coach, all those guys. And so it was a very peaceful leave. I actually went to a practice 2 weeks ago. I texted them, and they asked me to come to practice, and got to talk to Leipold and all those guys. So it's a very, very still happy relationship. There's no bad blood at all.
Right. I didn't think there was. I just wanted to know your thought process and how you were feeling about it. In the future, obviously you won't be playing anymore, but how will football still be involved in your life?
Oh gosh. It's always, I mean, it's just like one of those things where it's like, at this point, it's like you almost don't know anything else. So like, that was probably the one scary part about finally being done, is it was like, okay, like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't have like this schedule, I'm used to always being on a schedule with football,
Right.
even from high school. And so that was kind of scary, but I think football will just be very important with all the lessons it taught me in life. Just like teamwork, leadership, punctuality, stuff like that, all travels with you wherever you go.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think that is about all the time that we have today, unfortunately, because I could just yap all day. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this episode. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to the Next Gen podcast. Make sure to follow Jack_Jackson24 on Instagram. And then, as usual, this episode is brought to you by Sports Radio 810, looking towards the next generation of sports broadcasters and athletes. So check out any of the other 810 social media podcasts and the shows every day. So until next time.